For instance, how does one finally come to this unitive divine love? Abyss calls to abyss. This dual unity is the divine abyss alluring the abyss, which is the soul of the lover, into that final unity. In fact, one of Hadewijch's favorite images of the divine is the whirlpool, drawing all being into the depths of being. But as we've seen, no amount of active love will complete the task, because the very act of loving reinscribes the subject-object distinction. Thus, Hadewijch develops her most shocking mystical innovation. In order to unite with the divine love, one must betray it through what she calls unfaith. Only in the depths of abject torture of love can one come to a deep peace, even indifference, sometimes even resentment with the comforts that Minna could provide. In this moment, one abides in love, but abandons love for the very sake of love. Thus, as she writes, unfaith made them so deep that they wholly engulfed love and dared fight with her, sweet and bitter. The image here, of course, is the classical biblical motif of Jacob struggling with the angel as an act of pious resistance. In fact, Yisrael just means struggles with God. And she concludes, the denial of love with humility is the highest voice of love. It's only in finally abandoning all hope of love in the pure, humble indifference of unfaith that the final moment of distinction vanishes and the abyss of the soul comes home to the divine abyss of love.
It constantly happens that the Lord permits a soul to fall so that it may grow humbler. There is more value in a little study of humility and in a single act of it than in all the knowledge in the world. In light of heaven, the worst suffering on earth will be seen to be no more serious than one night in an inconvenient hotel.
So what the meditation on life, therefore, consists in seeing this inscape in our life, that our life is a work of art of God. See? And that all the things that have entered into our life, the good and the bad, and our relationships, and our conflicts, and our sufferings, and our troubles, and our happinesses, and so forth, they all add up to something. They all have meaning. And they all produce this kind of a structure. See? And in the end, that's what we're going to be judged on. We're not going to be judged just on, so you ate some meat on Friday, and then you forgot to confess it. Oh, well, too bad. Have a hard time. No, it isn't things like it. Isn't that. It's this whole structure of our life. See? The whole structure of all the things that we've loved and that we've, the good we've tried to do and the things that we wanted to do and the things we haven't been able to do and our relations with other people and all that stuff, it all adds up in the end to some kind of a structure. And everything that is beautiful, no matter what it is. Any life is beautiful. It's got some beauty in it. But the trouble is, the beauty isn't just in the life by itself. See, you get, for example, the life, say, of, somebody will say, well, the life of some criminal, is that beautiful? Maybe by itself it isn't. But in relation, it fits in with all sorts of other lives. See, and this person may have done a lot of mean things, but then perhaps he ran into other people who had to take this. And maybe they counteracted the evil that he did so that there is a sort of a dark and light, and it does come out in the end beautiful. And maybe the mercy of God will change things and so forth. So everything is beautiful. Even an old hunk of driftwood you find lying on the shore of a sea or something floating down the stream here. It's got some beauty in it, if you know how to find it. And this beauty doesn't come from anything except the action of God. See, God as artist is working, making things beautiful all over the place. So our life has this inscape in it, which we don't see. I mean, you don't see this till you get to the end of it, and often other people see it better than you do, so forth. But it's there, and to meditate on life is to be in touch with this.
There is another image of this paradoxical but so central dimension of the contemplative experience. That is this experience of ceasing to be an object of one's own speculation as distinct from God that one seeks, and coming to a realization of oneness. Imagine a horizontal line, and the horizontal line symbolizes all finite reality. That is all creation, the whole universe, and everything in it. And now imagine a vertical line that intersects the horizontal line at its center, forming a cross. And the vertical line symbolizes the divine, the infinite, the ineffable, the oceanic presence we call God. And imagine now that as a finite created being, standing on the horizontal line, you are looking at God. That is, you are gazing upon the presence of God as an act of faith. And so you praise God, you worship God, you're grateful to God for God's creation of all things, including you. And sitting in deep meditation, in deep contemplative prayer, you, as it were, are interiorly drawn to the point at which the horizontal and the vertical intersect each other. Being drawn in along the horizontal toward the vertical, there is that point of absolute zero that's prior to the point at which manifested reality is expressed vertically as God or horizontally as the finite. This is ground zero. It is infinite oneness prior to the distinction. From this infinite oneness, this womb of nothingness, flows forth all manifested reality that we, infinitely manifested, call God. We, finitely manifested, call us, the world, all created things. Contemplation is the ever deeper realization of ground zero. It is the ever deeper realization that we are ground zero, and our ground zero as God is ground zero. And flowing out from this is this wondrous unity that recognizes, respects, but does not identify with any distinctions whatsoever. Clearly there is the distinction between who each of us is as unique individuals. Clearly there is the distinction between ourself and God. Clearly there is the distinction between being alive and dead. Clearly. But the more profoundly transformed we are in contemplative oneness, we recognize these distinctions, but we do not identify with any distinctions. We realize directly the oneness that infinitely pervades all distinctions, the oneness that all distinctions manifest perfectly. This is the fulfillment of this contemplative experience, of which Merton speaks of as the way he prays, as the way he surrenders himself over to this oneness in love. Most immediately, what we become aware of in these moments is that in these moments we cease to understand ourselves in terms which we are accustomed to understanding ourselves. That is, all our customary reference points to ourselves, all our memories about ourselves, our opinions about ourselves, this and that, as Merton says, turns inside out. And there is an instantaneous moment where all considerations are rendered vacuous, and we realize how utterly impoverished they are, and capable of expressing what we're unexplainably realizing in this present moment. Thomas Merton once said about life in the monastery, he said, "There is not a monk in this monastery that knows why he is here. And if he does imagine that he knows why he is here, then he really does not yet know why he is here." Dan Wall said in one of his classes, "I know it, I know it, I know that I know it. The trouble is, it's I who know that I know it. And when I try to tell you what it is that I know, I can't say it." See? It's like it's crystal clear until you start to think about it. It's crystal clear until you try to put in words what it is that is so clear. It's a kind of obscure clarity. This is the knowledge that we become accustomed to, that the knowledge granted to us in moments of contemplative experience is a knowledge that silences us. It's a knowledge that awakens, but in the Christian traditions is sometimes referred to as unknowing. It's a paradoxical knowledge that's arrived at precisely to the extent we die to our customary dependency on thought.